Welcome into the Split Loyalty Podcast. This is episode 4 where we're going to be doing a spring training update. Today is going to be a little bit different, a little bit shorter probably, as it is a solo pod. My co-host Garrett is up in Alaska doing some crazy things, so you just have me this time. Might have a little bit crazier takes that don't get reeled in as much. I'm sure I'll be saying some things about the Cardinals that he won't like when he watches the spec. So let's jump right into the news. As far as general news, Max Scherzer signed with the Jays since the last time we talked. That's a re-signing. They had him last year. He'll be in the back end of that starting rotation. Firms him up a little bit more. On to the Royals news. So we got an update on Isaac Collins and why he had those knee injections that we talked about in episode 1. So it turns out that he has patella tendonitis in his knees. So that's something to keep our eyes on. Again, all of the messaging from the Royals so far has been that it is not a big deal, that he is planning on playing the full year without any issues. One piece of bad news coming out of spring training is Stephen Kolek has a grade 1 oblique. So the return table on that is 5 weeks from what I've been seeing. That's getting all the way built back up and back to pitching time. So other Royals news, Reagans, Bubich, and Burgett are dealing in spring training. These guys look ready to go. They look like if we had to pitch in Game 7 of the World Series, they'd be taking the mound and ready to go. We will talk about it more during the main part of the episode, but the Royals just signed Starling Marte. This is one of those moves where, if you remember back in episode 1, I was talking about we have a very, very low floor as far as the outfield goes, but the ceiling is very high. What this move does is it brings that floor up a little bit more. I don't think Marte is going to be stealing any time as far as Collins or Caglione goes, unless they start slow or they have injuries, God forbid. But I really, really love the signing. The numbers just came out today that it is a $1 million deal, and then he's got the ability to make up to $3 million in incentives. So very good deal. Raises the floor of our outfield. You know, if Collins starts slow or Caglione starts slow, Collins' knees are actually giving him issues. This is a guy that can play 90 games in a season. He is 37, so not an everyday player type guy, but very solid bat. Now on to the Cardinals news. This is where it might get a little spicy. So the Cardinals have agreed to a 2-year contract extension with their manager, Ollie Marmol. So this takes him through 2028, and then I was reading somewhere else that it's got, I guess at the end of this tweet, it's got a club option for 2029. So this one I really don't understand. You know, I understand the point of you guys are going through a rebuild. This is probably an okay guy to lead you through a rebuild. I think he is a player's coach. Kind of. But listen, you guys built a very impressive offense, and under Ollie Marmol, you guys went downhill. You guys signed Nolan Arenado, Wilson Contreras, Paul Goldschmidt, and everyone went backwards. So why is there not any backlash against Ollie Marmol and his staff? You know, there has been a lot of conversation in the Cardinals side of things of what Mo is doing and what he has done to build the roster. Now, in my opinion, the offense has been built very well in the past, and it has always come up short. Talking about a lineup, when you traded for these guys of Goldschmidt, Arenado, Wilson Contreras, is a very solid 3, 4, 5 type guys. That should be a top 3 or 4 middle of the order. But there's nothing happening with that. You guys aren't playing these players to the best of their abilities. And I think that is the number one attribute that a manager should have, is what are they getting out of their players? And this guy, to me, not getting anything. You know, you start looking at Tommy Edman, Brendan Donovan, Burleson. Those are 3 other guys that are quality hitters in your lineup, and you're not doing enough. And Cardinals fans, you can come at me for the pitching staff, but listen, the pitching staff, it was under Waino's direction. That guy was carrying your pitching staff, and you guys were doing good enough in the pitching staff department, in my opinion, to hold the line for what your offense should have been producing. Your offense was where most of your payroll was going. So that should be carrying you to wins, but it wasn't. Yes, you guys were playoff teams in 21, 22, 23, but that was, if we go back to episode 2, what Garrett calls it, is not a real try at the playoffs. And whether that's, you can point to pitching depth on that if you want. What I really want to point at is your offense wasn't producing. You guys were having close games there. The pitching was keeping you in it. The offense wasn't producing. Now, whether that's Ollie's fault, whether that's your hitting coach's fault, I know you guys just got a new one last year, and you saw some promise there. Ultimately, it comes down to your manager. Your manager is going to get the final nod of where your team is going. In my opinion, the team has only gone downhill since Marmol has taken over from Matheny. And people can have their opinions on Matheny too. I think personally he came over to the Royals and he did a good job for a team that was very bad. And I didn't think the Cardinals should have got rid of Matheny. I think this guy is getting way too much respect. I thought when he got his last extension that he should have been fired at that point. Because again, you guys were 200 plus million payroll, and you guys are barely squeaking into the playoffs and just getting shoved out by another team that has a payroll that's maybe not similar to you, but in the same vein as you. So my opinion here, I don't like Marmol. I think he's handled the Wilson Contreras situation very poorly. Wilson Contreras came in as a top 5 catcher. It was either last year or 2 years ago. You guys start floating him around in different positions. You say, oh, he's not a Cardinals catcher. He doesn't know the Cardinals way. So then I think you threw him in the outfield for a little bit. Then he ultimately landed on first base. And then you brought up a catcher to play the Cardinals way at catcher. And it led to a lot of instability that really hurt your pitchers, in my opinion, and made those pitchers that should have a reliable backstop back there have a AAA guy that you didn't expect to be there. Not a guy that was there with you all throughout spring training, and a guy that you really expected to be a contributor behind the plate and leader. But you guys played these mind games where Ollie should have been able to say, hey, I've been a player. I know you shouldn't do this to your superstars. It was really malpractice to your superstars. It's what he was doing, in my opinion. And then it's just like, there's just mind games going across with every single player. It feels like the treatment of your prospects that are coming up, that, sure, some of it's the GM, some of it's their moves of deciding when to send them up, when to send them down. Jordan Walker, as a key example, he came up, he was crushing the ball, but he did not have a good launch angle. So they told him he has to hit the ball in the air more. What happens? The guy just completely forgets how to hit the ball. His exit velos go completely down, and his average just tanks with it as well. He did struggle when he first came on to have a good batting average. But again, I think it's just one of those scenarios where you got to learn how to deal with these players. And Ollie is not doing that. He's not treating these prospects in the best regard to be able to get the most out of them. So I will be done talking my crap on Ollie Marmol for the moment. I'm sure I will throughout the season. But listen, it's not a guy that I think is going to rebuild your team well. This is a guy that has to be able to know or be on the player's side personally. And that's not what I've seen so far. It's been throwing players under the bus. It's been not taking your superstars back when leadership has different ideas for him. Yeah. So I am done talking crap on Ollie Marmol. So this podcast is going to be just like a spring training update, just talking about what has happened through spring training so far for the Royals and the Cardinals. I will start with the Royals. And why I am going to start there is because I want to talk more about Starling Marte. And maybe the best way to start here is to talk about who we had to get rid of. So Starling Marte is coming in. He played with the Mets for a couple of years. He played with the Pirates for a couple of years before that. This is a veteran guy. This is a guy that's going to come in and he's going to be able to teach Collins, Caglione. Izzy and Lane Thomas are a little bit more on the vet side, but he's still going to be able to impart wisdom to those guys as well. This is a guy that's been around the league. He's 37 years old, and he's still hitting for a 270 average last year. This is a guy that knows how to play the game and play it well. So this is a guy I'm really excited to raise the floor of our bench. With that being said, we had to make a major league move to get Marte on our roster. So the person that had to take the bullet there was Darren Blanco. So, in my opinion here, Marte steals a lot of what Blanco does. He steals bases pretty well, even at his age of 37. Blanco's bat has been there sometimes, and he's regressed at points. A lot of Royals Twitter likes to bring up the crayon game. He had a crayon bat for Players Weekend, I believe, and he hit 3 or 4 home runs that game with the crayon bat. So that was a magical game, and Royals fans would love if that was an everyday thing for him. But at the end of the day, this is just the guy that got hit by the sword, essentially. I think there's some other people that we could have gone to instead of Blanco, but even if Marte is not that base stealing guy, we still have Tyler Tolbert who we can call up and have him there if Marte can't steal bags anymore, and if we still want to have that aspect of our roster. I still see the overall roster, we can go 1 through 9 plus the 4 bench spots as I see it. Salvi at catcher, Vinny at first, Jonathan India at second, Bobby at short, Michael at third, Collins at left, Izzy in center, Jack at right, and then Carter Jensen at DH. I think him and Salvi will switch back and forth there. And then our bench spots will be Michael Massey, who has the ability to play second and third, I believe, as well as the corner outfield positions. Lane Thomas, who can play anywhere in the outfield. Starling Marte, who we just acquired, who we're talking about. And then this last spot, which again, when we talked in episode 1, it's a question mark. It's who's going to come out of spring training playing the best. Right now, I think in my opinion, Nick Lofton, it's his spot to lose. But, who's making a little splash is Josh Rojas. It's one of those guys that I said, watch out for on the non-roster invites. He's getting to play in every single game that he can. He's played in 7 games so far, and he's hitting an OPS 1500. That's insane. It is spring training, and some of this is probably coming in later in spring training games and not getting as much competition as maybe these other guys are. But again, it's noteworthy. Rojas can play anywhere on the infield, and maybe he can play a corner spot in the outfield. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I know he can play third, short, second, and it's a big utility for us to have. Just scrolling down here to try to find Nick Lofton. Again, Nick Lofton is playing in pretty much almost every single game. 813 OPS, 214 average. Not too great. So to that end, I mean, if we broke camp today, I would say Josh Rojas probably makes the team. But I think this average was a lot lower a couple days ago. So maybe Nick Lofton is starting to turn it on. Maybe he's starting to figure it out. But I love the versatility of Nick Lofton. He has always been able to hit in the minor leagues, and he's had stints in the MLB where he looked like he's an MLB hitter. So I don't know. I love if Josh Rojas is going back to 2024 Seattle Mariners Josh Rojas. If that happens, this is a guy that needs to be on the MLB roster, and he needs to be challenging Jonathan India at that second base position. The other person here, right below Josh Rojas, Michael Massey. You see these numbers? Love to see these numbers. But one thing I'll say is just be careful about spring training numbers. They don't always mean everything. Michael Massey is getting reps with the first go through of the lineup, but I feel like every single time he's had very solid numbers coming out of spring training, and he either gets hurt or something happens, tweaks something, and he can't hit the ball once we get into the regular season. So I really hope this is a guy that I have been waiting for to come up, and now it's his time. I really hope he can stay healthy and he can play ball for us. So this is a guy that definitely could be a cornerstone in our lineup and help us definitely win games. You can look at other people on this list. Carter Jensen, we'd love to see him up at the top. I think he's got, I wouldn't say pressure, but he's got a lot of high expectations coming into this year. A lot of people, even Baseball America, which is one of the premier places to get prospect information, they're expecting him to get AL Rookie of the Year votes. So there's high expectations from a lot of people around the league that he will come on to the scene and play very well. And I think what we saw in September last year of hitting 300, of getting some OPS as well on top of that 300 average, is that he can play at this level. So hopefully he doesn't have a setback or anything like that. Bobby Witt next on the list. Love him. Superstar. I wouldn't be worried about these numbers at all. They're not fake spring training numbers at all. This guy can do this at the big league level at the regular season. Next on the list, Jack Caglione. This guy's smoking the ball. He hit 120 mile an hour the other day. That was for a double, I believe. And then he hit another home run for 460 feet. So this guy has all of the raw power potential if he can put it together. If he can hit at a 260 clip and have 30 home runs, this team is winning 90 games, 90 plus games. I promise you. If this bat can figure it out in our lineup, we are winning a lot of games. Lyrone, who we just talked about, he was having a pretty good spring, so again, it does hurt. It does hurt to see him go. I think he's one of those guys that if you're a contender team, if you're looking for a guy to steal bags for you, if you want that aspect on your roster with a guy that can also swing the bat pretty well, Oh man, I would throw a flyer his way. He's hurt a lot last year, so he couldn't really showcase those abilities when we were having a lot of issues in the outfield. Man, the raw potential is there for that guy if he got a chance to show it. Other guys to keep tabs on. Lane Thomas has looked very good in spring training. I think he's going to be a platoon guy with Izzy. They're going to split whoever's throwing righty or lefty. So I'm very excited what I've seen so far in Lane Thomas. I mean, honestly, if he can come on and just mash lefties, it's going to be a big boost in our lineup. And then scroll down a little further. Michael and Salvi are down here. Again, it's one of those things where we can look at spring training numbers and get a little worried, but these are two guys that have been in the league long enough that I wouldn't be too worried about. Yeah, Michael's hitting 385, so he's probably just worried about his getting on base, having a high average. He's really trying to probably win that leadoff spot still, even though I don't think that there should be any question in your mind who your leadoff guy is to start this year. Let's see, do we have anyone? Jonathan India, very slow start. Vinny, slow start. He had a slow start in April last year. Then he turned it on. Isbell, man, if you start slow, you're gonna lose your spot, dude. Your defense is undeniable, and that is gonna keep you out there for a while. But, whew. Now you got Misner, who's playing better, definitely from an OPS standpoint, and you got Lane Thomas, who's hitting well to start as well. So he will lose some time. And come on, if you are not careful. This is a guy that I have been watching. He is a little older, I believe. Brett Squires. I thought he was a first baseman. We have Twins minor league affiliate near us in Wichita. I went up and watched this guy, and this guy can swing it. This is a guy to watch out for if we find a way to pull him up. I thought he was first baseman. They might be trying him out in a corner outfield position to see if he can play there. But very exciting bat. If we can stick him in the lineup, let's do it. Love that idea. That's all we've got for batting so far. Let's jump over to pitching. Seth Lugo, man, I really think we need to give Seth every opportunity to rebound from last year. He's going through injuries, not really playing healthy the whole year. I heard Jack Johnson say on his podcast that he should be on a short leash, and I don't really agree with that. Jack Johnson is the Locked On Royals, one of the bigger guys in this area, so a lot of people listen to him, but Seth Lugo he's 2 years off of getting Cy Young votes. This guy has a tremendous pitching repertoire. I think he still needs to get every chance to be that. Even if he's the bottom end of the rotation guy, I know that we've got Burgett and Kolick and Bailey Falter even staring him down for that last spot in the rotation. But this is still a guy that can bounce back. He is getting a little older. We gave him that contract extension, and everyone's been crying since that, oh, we shouldn't have extended him because he was getting older. I still think this is a guy that can bounce back. I still think that if he gets his 10 pitch repertoire going, that he can still come back. He can still have a low ERA, and he can still get the strikeouts like he was 2 years ago. Waka, you know what you're getting. He's solid. Mason Black, I have been very surprised by this guy. He is nasty. I think this guy is going to be one to watch in AAA, and another guy that could be pushing for either a relief spot for us or coming in and pitching if injuries happen. This guy right here, I just saw an article on him, and there is a lot of hype around him that maybe he's going to be one of our next pitchers coming up. I'd love to see it, Olivares. we can keep getting our pitching staff built up in the minors, have that depth. Love to see it. Ben, one of our top pitching prospects, has been getting shelled in spring training so far. I don't know if we are putting him in bad situations, putting him in tough situations, and seeing where he comes out. And this is kind of the expectation. But man, 21 ERA through 2 games is not where you want to be at. Yeah. Burgett, I said it in the news segment. This guy is nasty. I really would like to see him in that 5th spot. No offense to Noah Cameron. I think he made that spot, but Burgett just gives you the extra strikeout potential that you would want to see in a top end starter. And maybe we start the year and we do a 6-man rotation until we see who's going to pitch well for us. I actually haven't seen any stats on Eli Morgan. This is another guy that I hyped up in our Royals episode. Look at that. 0 ERA. He has been lights out so far. That is so exciting. That is a guy that you can stick in the bullpen and will shut down an inning. Mitch Spence, who we traded for, 0 ERA. Love to see that as well. Cole Reagans, he pitched the other day. He looked disgusting. He looked like he was back when we just traded for him from the Rangers, and he came in and everyone was like, who is this guy that the Royals just picked out of the Rangers system? He was not a guy on anyone's radar, and then he comes to the Royals and we just throw him in the rotation, and he throws for a 3 ERA and having like a 13K per 9 or something crazy like that. He looked so good. His slider looked so sharp. I don't know if it was a slider or a sweeper that I saw on a replay, but he looks ready to go. One thing that's got people worried is Carlos Esteves's fastball. It is sitting at 88 to 90 mile an hour. It's not good for your high power arm closer. That's what he likes to lead with his fastball. He likes to get ahead and pitch to contact with that 98 mile an hour fastball that he has. The one piece of grace that you might have here with Carlos Esteves, this is what he looked like last year. He was building up during spring training from his back injury. And when he came on and pitched in April, he was pitching in the low 90s with his fastball. So maybe that's our one saving grace. Maybe Carlos is working on throwing his off-speed pitches a little bit more. I'm not too worried about the ERA. It is high right now. But he's come in to face middle of the lineup, and it does seem obvious that he's throwing a lot of off-speed. He's not trying to rely on that fastball like he usually does in the regular season. So hopefully he's just working on those pitches, trying to develop something new to throw a little wrinkle in the mix for this year. Hopefully he doesn't have dead arm. Hopefully he doesn't have an injury coming on. I think we've got the depth to be able to absorb that blow, but certainly not something you want to see this early. Kulik, who we talked about, is hurt. Bubic, he pitched the other day. Again, he looked really good. I was looking at an advanced baseball report on him, and his pitches all just move weird. His fastball's got a bunch of vertical movement to it as well. That makes it so hard to hit, especially coming out of his arm slot, and his delivery is a little funky as well. So this is another guy. Please stay healthy. Please pitch a full season, because we're probably looking at Cy Young votes if you can do that. Hector Neris, one of the non-roster guys that I said to look out for. I think he's starting to figure it out. Hopefully he can come back to his own. Would be a guy that we want. Noah Cameron looked good. He had a clean 2 innings when he pitched. Nothing to complain about there. Who else do we want to talk about here? Matt Strom looked good in his one appearance he had. Schreiber looked good in his one appearance that he had. I left him off of the bullpen when we talked about it in episode 1. I think he's earned the right to be in the bullpen. I just think there's not any room for Schreiber to be in the bullpen this year. And maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, because he has a funky sidearm delivery and he comes in great scenarios and pitches well. The last guy I want to talk about on this list is Frank Mazzucato. This is another one of our starting pitching prospects. The biggest issue with him so far has been his fastball. His fastball is low 90s and it's flat. The development that we've seen when he came in and pitched this spring training, he was sitting at 94. So that was like a 2 or 3 mile an hour jump for him. That would be massive for him. If he can get a couple ticks on his fastball, I think that would throw everyone off. He has a big, I like to call it a Clayton Kershaw type curveball. This is a guy, we drafted him out of high school, and I have always been really high on him. He just hasn't been able to stay healthy. He's been able to pitch really well in the minor leagues so far. So I think that is all the talking I am going to do on the Royals so far. I really love what I'm seeing so far. I feel like some of the offensive guys are taking that next step. Hopefully they're working with the new hitting coaches and getting their wisdom as well. And hopefully that is working out. So let's jump over to the Cardinals. I have a couple clips here that I want to show. So this first clip is from Twitter. This is from Driveline. This is Jordan Walker working the past off season. And if you have watched a lot of Cardinals baseball, you can tell right away that this swing is already so much different. You know, when I watch Jordan Walker, it felt like what he was doing is he was swinging and not really getting through the ball. He was just letting his arms do the work. If you're watching very closely in these at-bats, they're talking about rotating all the way around, getting that bat, behind your head, getting your hips all the way through the ball. This is how we get that guy back up to hitting very well. You got to have that exit velo, got to have that bat speed, and then launch angle, obviously. Driveline has always produced when hitters have gone to them. Last year, Vinny Pasquantino went there. He had a slow start to April, but after that, dude was on a tear. If he didn't have a slow April, honestly, he'd probably be in the talks for Silver Slugger at first base. So that is something you love to see. You love to see your prospect that was voted as a superstar coming up, taking some time with some of the best hitting minds, in my opinion, in the sport. The other thing I want to bring up, this is not really due to any of the players or anything like that, but just something I wanted to touch on quickly. The Cardinals are introducing a ticket package starting at $29 that includes bottomless soda, hot dogs, chicken tenders, bratwurst, nachos, fries, popcorn, peanuts, chips, and ice cream. So yes, it is a little funny to talk about. But I think coming back to what we talked about in episode 2, there is a feeling from the fans, from everybody inside of Cardinals Nation, that ownership, front office does not care about you anymore. And I think this is a step in the right direction. Making a package, it might be a little silly, but I think, at least Scheim is trying to do something to get your guys' heart back, to get you guys trying to come back to the stadium. I think it's a cool development. Royals are getting rid of Buck Knight, which is the hot dog deal. So just seeing us lose those type of promotions that bring families to the park, it really sucks to see us doing that. But I'm glad that other teams are trying to find ways to make the event of going to the baseball game a lot more fun. So let's jump over to the Cardinals stats so far in spring training. This is the one guy that you should be happy to see at the top of this list. JJ Weatherholt. He's your number one prospect, I believe. If he's not, he should be. He's on the brink of making it up to the bigs, in that draft class. There are 3 guys that have super high expectations coming out of the draft and have blown everybody away as far as minor leagues, which is Nick Kurtz for the A's. He's come up. He was a superstar last year as a rookie. Jack Caglione, who destroyed minor league baseball, got up to the MLBs. We probably brought him up too soon, but we'll see if he develops this year. And then JJ Weatherholt was another one of those hitters that he fell in the draft. He was supposed to be a top 5 guy, and then you guys got him at 8 or 10, somewhere in that area. I thought Jack was going to be taken before we got to him, and I was thinking, JJ Weatherholt, we can stick him at second base. That guy is a beast. So I'm really excited to see this guy producing for you. When I watched the clip the other day, he looked like he put on 10 pounds. He didn't look like a scrawny college guy. Not scrawny. He was always pretty built, but he looks like he put 10 pounds of muscle on, and he looks really solid. Pozo at the top. Love to see that. Hopefully he can be in your catcher position and provide you offense from that position. Burley, again, a guy that just hits. He's a guy that we talked about. I love guys that just hit. Burley is always going to be that guy that's got around a 280 average and hits for a decent slug. Let's see. Do we have any other guys that we want to look at? So JC, he's hitting 900 OPS. That's good to see. It might be the guy that's playing second if Gorman is staying at third. I really think JC is going to start the year and be either your second or third baseman, wherever they put Gorman at, and he'll just be the tie-off before Weatherholt makes it up. Weatherholt's primarily a shortstop, but you're not going to move Mason Wynn off of the shortstop position unless something catastrophic happens. Mason Wynn, he's only played in 4 games, hitting 250, 705. That's nothing that I would be worried about so far in spring training. Again, it's only been 4 games. If we're at the end of spring training and he hasn't moved that number, or that number's moved down, maybe you start worrying there, but not something I'd worry about right now. Nolan Gorman, he's hitting 167, but with some slug. Again, that's his deal. He's gonna hit 220. He's gonna hit 30-ish home runs a year. It's kind of we're at the point where we kind of know what we're gonna get out of Nolan Gorman, and maybe he breaks out, maybe he figures it out, and he bumps that average up. But it's a power bat. You kind of know what you're getting at this point. I know Garrett said in episode 2 that he thinks that he needs more chances. I think that I thought he played the full year last year, and it doesn't feel like he can get over the hump, at least to the expectations that he was held to. Nelson Velasquez, a guy that I said to look out for. He's an extra royal. Not doing too hot. Not bad, but not too hot. We'll see if he can turn it around. Jordan Walker, not zero slug at all, actually. He's hitting for only singles so far, I believe. Yeah. I wouldn't be worried about this yet. If we go into middle of May, start of June, and he still doesn't have any slug, that's when I would start to get worried. But those driveline guys usually make changes to your swing for the better, but that better also has a translation period. You have to see MLB level arms. You have to get adjusted to that pitching. I think that's what we saw in April with Vinny Pasquantino. Anybody else down here? VS2, no slug, no walks. Not what you want to see out of a guy that you want to be your starting center fielder. especially with his speed. You want to see this on-base percentage to be 50 points higher than your batting average. Yeah, that honestly, in my opinion, that's unacceptable. Even through 4 games to not have a single walk yet, someone needs to be talking to him about that. Last guy here, Pajes, doesn't have a hit yet. Has a walk probably. That's that defensive guy that Garrett said he's going to be behind the dish. You're not going to expect much out of his bat, but he's going to be able to catch really well. I think honestly, if I'm you guys, the catching room's too loaded right now to be able to allow that. Pozo's got to catch. Ivan Herrera's got to catch. Someone that can also hit MLB pitching's got to be there. Did I see Ivan Herrera yet? Yeah, maybe he hasn't played yet. So that's it for the offense. Let's jump over to the pitching. Libby, as you expect, he's your ace. He looks good. He's getting roughed up a little bit. McGreevy looks good. McGreevy's probably going to be your 2. That's a guy that I've watched. I think he's going to be a solid arm for you in the future. He's young. Quinn Matthews is a guy that you should see either at the end of this year. Well, really halfway through this year, you should probably see Quinn Matthews a little bit. Started a little rough, but 6 is nothing to worry about in spring training. JoJo Romero, he should be a trade piece this year. Again, a 6 ERA, not something you should be too worried about yet. If we get to the end of spring training and it's still up there, maybe raises a little eyebrows, but overall in spring training, numbers don't really matter that much. Graceffo looks good. He's going to be pitching in the WBC, so excited to see him in the WBC, see what he can do. Richard Fitz threw a clean inning. He's one of the guys that you got from Boston. I think he's going to be a spot starter or a mid-relief type guy for you. He can get you a couple innings. I think he's going to throw a lot of innings this year. He'll be a good trade piece, even if you don't want to keep him after that. Palante, 4.5. That's fine. He's going to be probably your 3 starter. Excited to see what he does. Tink Hintz, who we talked about a little bit, started slow. Again, he's got that. He's got the potential. He's got the pitch repertoire to be able to be at the top of the rotation, but just hasn't shown it yet. Hasn't been able to stay healthy enough to make it to the bigs. And there was an announcement the other day that they are going to move him to a relief position. So hopefully with the shorter amount of appearances, maybe he can stay a little bit more healthy. He can bring those pitches that are nasty 1 inning in a game instead of 6 and hurting his arm. Stanek pitched a clean inning. That's going to be a guy that'll get you a couple prospects. So, yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up for our main segment here on the spring training update. We will jump right into opening packs. So, I bought a mega pack, and I am just going to rip a couple of packs out of it for podcast, and we will see. This gives you, if you do the math on it at all, this kind of gives you the best odds at pulling a good card, but also the price per card is not as insane as some of the other offerings. The best bang for your buck is the fat packs, which just have like 32 cards in it, and they're just like a single pack, but they have like terrible odds to get any good cards out of them. Luke Raley, Jeremiah Jackson. Zarowski. Bayo. Adolis. So rookie. Dylan Beavers. Andrew McCutcheon. Chase Burns rookie card. That guy should be solid. And then the Cool Crushers, which is Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber. Okay, now we got our turned around cards. Got a James Wood, Stars of the MLB. Ooh. That's a Bubba Chandler foil. That is a good card. It's his rookie card as well, so. Put that in a sleeve. We will open up our second pack. And Cassie, rookie card. Pretty house. Guy should be an animal. Brendan Donovan. Vladdy Jr. Josh Hader. Addison Barger. Kikuchi. Chris Lewis. We got our flipped around cards. Got a Ronald Acuna, Stars of the MLB. Ooh. Then a David Peterson foil, rainbow foil. It's a cool looking card. All right. Third and last pack. Jacob Wilson, Topps All-Star Rookie. Francisco Alvarez. Roman Anthony. There's our boy, Bobby Witt. First Royal I've pulled so far, I believe. Kind of surprising. Full schemes. All right, another one. Jonathan India. Future Star, Spencer Swellenbach. Home run leaders. Bergman. Okay, and then it's not a special card, but a 91 series Riley Green. Again, I like these card designs. I don't know if it's just closer to the designs that we had when I was a kid, but I just like them. They're clean, look good. And then my one turned around card is another Ronald Acuna, and this is the Titans of the game. It's a very cool picture of him making a diving play. All right, we have ripped our pack. Now it is time to play the Statpad game. And Garrett is on vacation, but he was generous enough to send in his score and his board. So we will pull that up and we will show it after I probably give a bad showing. This is the Statpad game. So we've got WAR. This will not come back to bite me. We've got WAR for the 2020 season to the 2025 season for the Baltimore Orioles. Okay, so we got Cedric Mullins in there. He's always been a solid center fielder. Let's see. Who else do we got in there? Gunnar Henderson in 24 is probably our best bet. Because I think he had like an 8 WAR that year. I don't know. I don't think there's anyone else that's really piquing my interest at the point. There we go. Bang. 9.1. Number one answer. Cedric Mullins in 21. That was going to be my second guess. Gunner in 23 was really good as well. Trevor Rogers, a pitcher. Man, these pitchers are sneaky in the WAR category. All right. I am going to jump down to the Royals in 14 because I just don't know about these other categories yet. I will zoom that in a little bit to help. There we go. That should be a little bit better. Hopefully you guys can see that. So in 14, that would have been Moose, Paz, Locane. Alcides Escobar. Omar Infante was 15. Alex Gordon. Alex Gordon might be the WAR leader here with his defense added in. I think that's going to be my answer. Because Sal's offense wasn't good enough in 14 to help him, I don't think. This might be the year that Moose had like 38. I think Gordo is going to be my best offense, my best option between offense and defense. Bang. All right, we've gone perfect for 2 for 2. We've got the number one answer in 2 categories. Let's see how we can blow it. Somewhere else, we got Locane, James Shields, Danny Duffy, and Wade Davis. Man, 3 pitchers in our WAR category. And only 1 guy over 5. Yikes. That's crazy. That team made it to the World Series. Good pitching, good defense, running the bases well, playing small ball. Royals' identity was exactly that World Series team. All right. In 97, awarded Hall of Fame. Jeter is just coming onto the scene. Chipper Jones. Chipper would have your offense and your defense. It's kind of where I'm thinking right now. There's going to be so many players that are, I guess maybe not so many. When did Chipper come into the league? He came into the league in 93, so that would be 4 years up. He should just be starting his prime, I would think. This should be a good guess. Let's see who else is. Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire. I don't know if Sammy got into the Hall of Fame, though, because they got him for the Roids conspiracy. Yeah, am I going to waste a guess on Sammy Sosa? Let's waste a guess on Sammy Sosa. If he's not in the Hall, then we know for sure. Yeah, I didn't think so. Let's go back to Chipper. And let's think of... I don't think Jeter would have had a better... When did Derek Jeter... I think he was... Right on... Yeah, I think he's... I don't know if he was doing it that well. So I know he went up and down there to start his career. I think I'm going to rip Chipper Jones and see where we fall. Not very good. Larry Walker, Craig Biggio. The kid... Yeah, I definitely blew this one. Why did I just blank on the kid? Craig Biggio is one of my favorite players watching growing up because he's a little firecracker that just always hit. Man, that one makes me mad. All right. 2015 infielder in the AL West. So this was the year that the Royals won the World Series. 2015 infielder. Let's see. Jose Altuve. Had to be Altuve. Only 4 WAR. Kyle Seager. Correa. Okay, that makes sense. Beltray went through my brain. That's not that big of a jump, so I'm not too mad about that one. All right. Japanese born from 2000 to 2015. I'm really going to get put on the spot here. I don't know my Japanese players as well as I should. Ichiro is Japanese, right? And then it's just a dart on the wall on what year? Came in 01. Let's do 09. Not bad. Ichiro, his rookie year, he had almost 8 WAR. 04, did 92. My score is 27.8. I will pull up Garrett's. Oh my gosh, Garrett barely beat me. So we both got Gunner right. He got the kid correct. Don't know where my brain was at. Both of us went with Altuve. Both of us went with Ichiro. He got a better year than I did. And he went Salvi and I went Gordo. Salvi still had 3.6 WAR. Not bad. His defense back then was probably carrying him. So that will do it for us today. That is the end of the Split Loyalty podcast. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or any podcast ideas that you want us to go through, please put them in the comments below and we will get to it. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.